What's up?
What up?
Welcome, Flooring family. We're here again on a wonderful Tuesday afternoon, 3 p.m. Central. We come every Tuesday, nearly every Tuesday.
Most
Tuesdays, 99%, to discuss maintaining forward progress in your flooring career. We go over a multitude of different topics. So if you're watching this on any of the socials, please consider liking, subscribing on YouTube. If you find this valuable, a lot of the content is, got a lot of years of experience behind it. And so we just try to come with different topics to keep the ball rolling. And a lot of times you'll see that the topics overlap, but that's what business is about, is a lot of things you do will overlap. So today's topic is improving efficiency and productivity. I think we can talk about field and office, how to set up a job properly. But first off, like I said before, hit that like and subscribe button. Do it now, or else we're not going to be here next Tuesday. I'm just kidding. Okay, so all right, let's huddle up, guys. So when I think about efficiency and productivity, I always think about planning. I always think about setting up things to succeed the best. Just about anything you do that, but often on job sites, I experienced it last week. I was on a job site and we had guys, a younger crew gluing up some classrooms for some LVT and carpet tile. They'd glue up one part at a time and wait for it to dry, and glue up the next one and wait for it to dry. And working with other trades and letting other trades in the rooms and trying to work with them to allow them. And so we switched it up when I got on site, and we got all the other trades out of there, and we glued up 6 rooms and got them all installed. But the point is how you set up and plan your job, just about anything. When you start talking about efficiency and productivity, it requires a plan. So that's my 2 cents. I had wrote that down about the that's a simple example, but it's a real life one that just happened. Is how do you best set up the job as an installer to be able to get the most productivity, earn the most money, and leave the best impression upon the client. Office, my 2 cents there is just really making sure your job sites are set up. Go Carerra is coming out with a new feature that's going to help drastically with this, I believe, and that's called Link. And you'll be able to shoot a link call to your video call to your superintendent. Make sure they walk you through we'll be probably doing a demo here live on the podcast in the future to kind of give you an idea of what that's about. So, inefficiencies and loss of productivity, laborers are number 1 or number 2 expense. And so efficiency and productivity are like the key to profit. So what's your guys' thoughts on setting up? We got kind of this field and office kind of dichotomy, but both have their jobs to do.
I just want to kind of add to what you just said, because it does bring to the surface some of the issue is having the right leadership who understands that there is a process, a systematic process into which everything should be installed in order for it to be profitable, and get some square footage down. And it almost sounds like there was I don't know the guys, but like for me, I would interpret that situation that you ran into as a very passive crew, where they just
nail on the head. I'll just say you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, that would be it. Like they don't want to ruffle feathers. They don't want, but at the same time, they're putting everyone else's profit and everyone else's dollars and cents and forward progress before their own. and can't make up those days at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say you hit the nail on the head. Passive, we don't want to be some guy trying to get through a I just put my final sweep on a floor and they're trying to walk through and it's all caution taped off. I said, you can't come through here. I got a job to do too. You know, starts barking. I said, I get it. Give us a couple hours. This will be ready. And he just keeps going and going and going. And I was like, look, you're not coming through. So I don't know what to tell you. You're just wasting time standing here arguing with me. So, you know, go find something. This building's huge. Go find something else to do for a couple hours and we'll have you a path through here where you can walk on it.
Right. That's
And
what they don't understand is you need the floor to do the floor, right? And it's like that's what we explain to people. It's like, look, like you said, go find something else to do right now. You can have this entire area tomorrow, but today it's mine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and convincing you know, contractors, we didn't used to have to way back in the day. It was just when the flooring guys are there, it's time to get out of the way because we are the one trade that needs the entire space. We can't, right? A painter can paint a wall and an electrician can be on the other wall. Outlet covers right behind him, you know, and the ceiling guy can be up there, you know, working, not creating dust if they're painting, but you know, electrician can be up in the ceiling even working as long as it's not creating a bunch of dust. I mean, that you can just, you're not taking up the whole space like you are in flooring. But that's why GCs, if you're watching, we want to be in last. That's why we say we're the last ones in. And you know, I find GCs more and more often trying to shoehorn you in before they're ceiling grid up and you're doing full height wall tile. And they want you to just cut it to this line and all this kind of crap. It's just like, just get to work in front of me and then I'll do my job. And we're more efficient. We actually proved our point last week when we ended up doing a little over 1,000 yards and probably 4,000 feet of base and, or right around there, a bunch of transitions, a bunch of another 3,000 feet of LVT on top of that. And a day and a half with 6 of us.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we want to do it this way every time now. And we were like, that's what we've been trying to get you to get, allow us to do the whole time is like, get the entire area ready. The entire wing can be ready and we can knock it out in a day and be in and out of your hair. Or you can do it the way that you were having us do it before, where in the other wing, we'd go in and do a classroom and then jump over to the classroom across the common area and do that one and then hopscotch over to another, you know, that's inefficiency.
It is. And when you're able to be more efficient and they do give you more freedom, more room to roam, team morale is actually up too, because you don't have to start and stop so many different times. You don't have to you don't get, like you said, you go across the hall, do another room back and forth, right? Instead of just progressing or go down.
Well, you got to take your tools with you and all that. They just don't understand that.
Got set up all over again.
Yeah.
Remote. And sometimes you're going to lose a half a day with a whole crew if you got to go somewhere else.
It's particularly true if you're if you're outside your, like, if you're an hour or more away, if you're going to be staying the night. Like I had 6 guys have to stay one night. Away from their family for one night, as opposed to one crew for 6 or 7 days, or maybe even 10 days, dinking and donking around, and you having us do this corner, and then you move your freaking piles of ceiling tile on top of our carpet, and then we get to sand and sweep and do the other area, and then you move more shit on there, and then we, you know, it's just like it's completely inefficient. What I would say for companies, and I tell my managers, is fight for your efficiency, fight for your company. The job sites, are friendly, you just cannot be a yes man. If they say, we want you here on the 26th doing, this classroom, and unless they can give you one hell of a compelling reason, say, how about I'm there on the 30th and you have 8 classrooms, and then I'll come through, I'll knock all 8 of those out in the same time as it would take one when the job site's 4 hours away.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean,
Right?
we've
Like,
been
just a
preaching
couple-
for a long
couple
time
extra
about
guys.
that too. It's we can just as easily do 10,000 square feet as we can do 5,000 square feet if we have the room to roam. We're already set up, we're already ready to rock. We don't know starting and stopping, remobilizing, resituating any areas that we have set up for mixing prep material and no
It seems
The big thing is prep, because you don't realize a lot of what we do, especially in the resilient world, is prep. So we'll prep for 4 days and then we'll install everything in 1 day. So when you're trying to make us do that in sections, it just don't work out.
Yeah.
even when you're prepping for, like, this was carpet tile, Milliken carpet tile, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But when you're prepping for that and you're scraping and sanding and sweeping and cleaning out saw joints and patching saw joints, when you're doing all of that activity, to stop, wait for that to dry, and then once that dries, you glue up the room, and now you're waiting for that to dry. For that start and stop, they don't understand how many hours that costs you. Up that one little area, it probably cost us 5 or 6 hours of man hours to do it that way, comparative every day, comparative to getting in a flow and prepping all the rooms. Like, one person is cleaning out saw joints and vacuuming as they go, and the other guy's right behind them patching floors. And once you get that system going, and just as soon as you're done patching, the first guy's going back and grabbing the sander, hitting, and if you patch it right with carpet tile, you ain't got to do this, but going back and hitting, sanding the floors and going through right behind that and sweeping. Well, at the end of 4 hours, all the rooms are ready compared to the same
Right.
amount or similar amount of time in one room. So yeah, efficiency is really what I hear and what comes up a lot. And you will find this, I think you guys probably already know, it's communication, like communicating with your GC on what you need and then holding strong and then executing on the plan. There's nothing worse than if you say, no, I'm not going to be there until this day and I'll knock it out in a day, and it takes you 4 days still. Well, they have a right to be a little upset then.
Yeah,
But
they do.
the fact is, like, know what you can do and proper planning and proper communication, because you guys just said it, you got to talk to the GC. You got to talk to those guys.
A lot of moving parts, and it's just understanding. I think there's a longer list of what not to say, right? And how not to approach it than there is to as far as what to say. And I think with a little bit of practice, anybody can get to that point where they're just under promise, over deliver, and that's another thing too, is that helps.
Yeah, if the job's set up, so you use some mechanism to make sure that you go to the job site, or you discuss and make sure the area is ready, and your crew shows up and there's ample space. Most good flooring companies are going to really surprise you with how much can be done if you give them the area and the cooperation of getting stuff out of the way, helping to maintain traffic, because that's another big piece that we always have to fight is traffic. But then, you'll get a lot of floors down in a short amount of time, most of the time. What's your, I do have a question for you guys. What's your approach on, say, do you guys do residential remodels or just new residential?
Only remodels.
Yeah.
Only remodels. Well, that's probably a little easier when you're just dealing with the homeowner, but what are some some,
Actually,
best practices there, guys, for our residential, audience.
get all your ducks in a row. Don't, if you have an installation background, then you might have a little more information to pass on to the homeowner, right? But do not speak for the installer unless you know for sure you guys are installing in the same exact method. Because I, from start to finish, might be a little bit different than Daniel, and we might be different than you, and I don't want to over speak. Doing your best to not give false expectations.
Are we
And
talking, we're talking about salesmen here from a retail
Correct,
place
yes,
or something?
sorry,
Okay.
salesman,
All
yeah.
right.
And that's only because we've been in the situations before when they're like, well, they said that you guys were going to start over here. And it's like, why would anyone ever start in this back room right here?
Starting a closet.
Yeah.
Started a closet so I could put all my coats back. That's a real thing. I would say that would help with efficiency is where I was going with that was setting expectations, right? Don't set the wrong expectations and be thorough, and don't be afraid to say, I'll have to get with the installer, or if you are the installer and you're selling the job and that's what you're doing, then just make sure you're not over speaking. Don't make a promise that you don't know you can keep yet.
I agree. Any of the residential we do now, we only do, I shouldn't say only, 99% of the residential we do, which is pretty small amount overall, is new or near new. Doing a house for a guy where I had to go in and finish up some work for another company. A good buddy of mine that, built a big old house and stuff didn't get done right, and he asked me to help him get it finished. So the best thing I can say that from my experience is to let them know that, it not kind of like what you said earlier, Jose, not overpromise with the homeowner, because they only have a few days. Construction sites is one thing. I say don't do that on construction sites either, but when you're only going to be on a job for 2 or 3 days, doing somebody's kitchen or somebody recarpeting someone's house or some new vinyl in the laundry room or whatever, when you're only going to be there for a short time, if one day turns into 2, well, you just doubled the time, and
Yeah,
doubled the homeowner's exposure to the whole flooring replacement. And it's a disruptive deal to have your flooring replaced, because you got to move everything. It's not like you can just throw plastic over it and paint the walls. It's like everything's got to be moved out. So good communication. Again, it goes back to communicating well with the person who's receiving the service.
You're right about those curveballs too, because we just actually had an instance like that where the installer had a death in the family and had to deal with a couple things, and just like he was like, hey, let me push it back a day, and then it turned to 2 days, and it's like, just take care of what you got to take care of, we'll get it covered, right? Instead of pushing it back and costing the client an extra couple days because they had to get a pod unloaded, they were moving from out of state, they were on a time frame that they had a deadline, and we had to figure it out on our end, and we did. It did cost us an extra day for us to go in there because it was kind of a curveball, but we were able to make it happen.
And that's one of the things you have to realize in residential too, is that like they weren't living in there yet, but most of the time they are, and they're taking off days of work in order to be there, because I mean that's their whole world in that house. So they're not trying to have anyone in there messing with anything that they don't want them to. So they want to be present.
Yeah, and those days off are important to people. I mean, just think of yourself when you take a day off, to do something and it doesn't happen. I mean, it's disruptive. So trying to hit those days, kudos to you guys. One of the reasons we don't do much residential is we haven't taken the time to get good enough at really approaching it to where we don't disrupt the homeowner. I know it's a good business, but we just have not found the best way. So maybe we're just too commercially minded. but most of our residential are
Same.
bigger. Yeah.
It's the same,
You
but
guys, you guys have pulled it off though.
we just deal with it like, sometimes you just gotta roll with the punches, man. That's it. That's all we can
Yeah.
do.
Well, I would say the one thing I always remind people is like, I don't want to rush through this to get you done on time in the time frames, the times we have been doing residential jobs and not been able to get done in time. You're going to be living with this floor for a time. I don't want 5 hours of extra time. I could get out of here and leave you, but I want this to last for you. I want this to be beautiful and you to look at it and, kind of show them the vision of it once it's done through the words of, just through communication. Yeah, I'll sacrifice an extra 5 hours tomorrow to get this done right, because I don't want to have any, problems, long-term problems or something.
100%.
So again, communication. So, efficiency is all about productivity, or, leads up. It's kind of like, I view it as like the building blocks of productivity. If you're efficient, you should be productive. Not always, but for the most part, it's going to improve your productivity. As subs, when I subbed, it was the number one thing I concerned myself with going to a job. I mean, I did a lot of planning as a sub ahead of time, asking questions and discussing the project with my, client, whoever I was working for, because I wanted to go in and, like, I was kind of considered a jerk because I didn't talk a lot. I was just like, I'm here to work.
I can't even imagine that. I can't even imagine that.
Well, it was just a different time, and frankly, I had a child very well, and I just, I had to get her to appointments all the time, and it was all about just
On track.
get in,
Yep,
get
on
my
track.
work done, and I was just one track minded. But outside that, it's, it's the only way you can really, it's the easiest way you can impact your bottom line as an installer, is by increasing your efficiency and your productivity. Unless you're supplying materials, which most installers, maybe supply some stuff, but not the bulk of the materials. I do know there's some, there's out installer's going to pick it up and take it to the house and do the job. If that's the case, your number one cost is your labor, your personal time, as well as you have helping you. So just this can make a big impact on your bottom line if you listen to some of these things and really communicate well and make a plan for your job. Don't just show up to the job with no idea. Make sure you have the right equipment, make sure you have the right, tools and materials, and check all that when you get there, because who wants to get halfway, through the job, start unpacking stuff just to find out it's not the right material. So,
right. Or the right equipment. Like
Yeah.
you just, so one of the things that we started doing early on too was, like you said, asking questions. This is all stuff that, like, if I go look at a project, I'm going to test the rip on a commercial job. I want to know how hard is it? What equipment am I going to need? Am I on a first floor, upper levels? What is the capacity of the elevator? Do I have a dedicated elevator? Where can the dumpster be put? Like, all of this has, it all ties into the efficiency thing. So that way I know who, what, and when I can plug it in to maximize efficiency. And doing all of that as a labor only actually helped us become better when we got into the sales portion, because now we're looking at way more than one aspect, right? Because if you can maximize on the labor portion and then do your best to be efficient on the sales portion, you're going to maximize your profitability with both of those areas combined. And that's really what, you're going to practice until you figure that out, and then you're going to evolve, right? But you gotta put forth some effort into all of the details. The details are very important for efficiency.
Yeah. Yeah. So communication, those details, like you said, where the dumpster sets is even an important one, especially on your larger, if you're on a larger job site, even if it's a house, the dumpster's freaking 100 yards away. You better be thinking about that when you're planning your installation. I mean, it's going to be a haul just to get your trash thrown away. We put that a lot on commercial sites where the dumpsters, you know, good 100 yards away from the building, or, you know, at the other end of the building or something.
Yeah. Or what if it's, you're tearing up a bunch of VCT and they give you a dumpster that's got 6-foot walls, but you got to get the VCT in there and they already loaded some of it. You know, now you're filling up trash cans like this just so that way you can lift and dump if they don't have a way to put in a bucket and a sky track. So there's all that. Like, I don't know, live and learn, I guess. That's like, hey, I don't want anything higher than 4 feet.
Or make friends with the other trades too, because they're typically the ones with the uniloaders and lulls on job sites that'll help you get your materials off. But a bottle of Crowns went a long way in the past to get it.
Or a pizza.
Or a pizza. Or
donuts, 30 pack.
Yeah.
Just take care of each other out there.
And usually it's good to do it before you ask the favors. Just say, hey, look, I got everybody this. Hey, who are you?
Yeah.
We're the floor guys. We're not starting till, next week. And then they right away, they already like your crew because, hey, your boss bought us donuts. What? They don't even buy us donuts.
Yeah, the talk about efficiency, not much more savings on efficiency than forking a pallet of carpet tile off a job instead of hand unloading it.
My brother has his dog here and he keeps on farting. Dude.
I was gonna ask if your brother was letting loose or what.
Man, I don't even see my dog.
He keeps on farting, right?
Well, the systematic approach to things to maximize your labor and maximize your productivity. I wrote down, with most jobs, if you nickel and dime a job that's got a penny budget, you're setting yourself up for failure, right? So like you got to get in and not nickel and dime a project around. So again, that goes back to communication and good quality information from you and talking to people. The setting up of tools and things like that. The crews that we see be the most successful either have a major rig that has just about everything you can think of in it, or they're very meticulous in what they put in their vans or their vehicles when they know they're going to do a job. And of course, all of the crews we work with are on Go Carerra. And I've started in my detail area, even putting equipment, like required equipment, stuff I know you're going to have, right? Like if it's a hard rip, and I will put on there, either right on demo, carpet puller, something. You better take something, little Eddie's, something, because it's going to be a bear, So I'm trying to communicate that to the crews better. That's how we can continue to get better as a company. We're not great at that even. I'd say we're good, but we can become better at trying to make sure that we're communicating the information of the job site to the installer before they get there.
Installer has to listen though, because there's been plenty of times where we're out there in the warehouse and we're like, hey, make sure you take this. And then we get a call like an hour later. Hey, we forgot to grab that. I literally told you right before you left not to forget it.
Yeah, we're all on the same team, guys. Help us out. Well, the only other thing I could.
Away. Sorry, go ahead.
What's that?
I was like, part of that is in the morning. People want to socialize in the morning while they're getting ready, so they start talking about what they did over the weekend, and things get missed because they're in conversation. And I know that's what some of that is. And you don't ever want to be the guy to say, "Stop talking about your life. Get everything together. Then you'll have time." You don't want to be that guy. But guys, pay attention.
Yeah, I just, you know, I know a lot of our guys will go out and I'll go out in the warehouse when guys are loading up. If they're loading up for a job for me and they're out there chitter chatting, I get it. But I'll still say, hey, you got all the equipment you need, everything that you need for this job on the truck, you know?
I have a nice
Um,
little note in the bottom of all the work orders that says, do you have everything you need? Question mark. But I have
Yeah.
like items you might need, you know, and then additional notes on top of that. I never had any of that. So I try to incorporate that and make it easier. Does it happen on every project? No, it don't. But like for the ones that I have all the information for, yes, it does.
Yeah, we just got, you know, continue to get better. I mean, if you were perfect at everything, you know,
We wouldn't need to have this podcast, right?
Yeah, we wouldn't have much to talk about on this podcast. You just be like, well, I'm great at this. I don't know about what your problem
How was your day, Paul? Perfect. Mine too. Until next week.
Adios.
Yeah.
So the bottom line, guys, is, and I think we can, you know, the overall discussion topic being efficiency and productivity. Overall, go into the job thinking about it. That's what I would tell you. Go in thinking about how can I be the most efficient. I tell people all the time, I'm not the, you know, I considered myself pretty fast installer, good quality fast installer. It's not because I cut in faster than the other guy. It's not because I can run a row faster or cut down a straight edge faster. It's because of the way you set the job up to that. As soon as I'm done with one thing, I know exactly what I'm going to do. Like there's no missed beats. You go from this to this, and you just continue. If you work and don't stop moving for 8 hours, you're going to get a lot of shit done. And it's more about the systematic planning and setup of the job, more so than the, you know, ripping down a wall, cutting all fast. I mean, it's not why some crews are faster than others. Most of the time, it's just approaching it from a systematic standpoint, and they know what they need to get done, you know, to keep everything moving so that you're not I hate waiting on something to dry. If I'm waiting on something to dry, I planned incorrectly. Something should be drying while I'm doing something else.
Or while you're on lunch.
Yes, or while I'm on
or overnight. Yeah.
That's
something should be happening. Something like at the end of the day, you ought to have patch on the floor somewhere before you leave or something, especially, you know, on bigger job sites. So you come in the next day and you're not waiting for patch to dry.
An hour today saves 4 hours tomorrow, man. Like people don't understand that, and it's hard.
Yep.
It's hard for everyone to share that mindset, right? Because everyone's like, oh man, it's, you know, I've worked 7.5 hours right now. We're a half hour from 8 hours. Let me just dink around for the last half hour and do something instead of saying, you know what? I just work an extra half hour, work 8.5 hours or 9 hours today. That means I can save, you know, 4 guys times an hour tomorrow morning. You know, we can probably bang this job out in a half day on Friday, and then I'll be out early on a Friday instead of working and
well, it's so much more enjoyable. I gotta, you know, it's so much more enjoyable to work it when things are like moving in the right sequence. I mean, sometimes you can't help it and you have to go out of sequence, and it's no fun. I mean, plenty of times, but it's not as enjoyable as getting in and the things running the way they should run. And I'd say to bring up mindset, maybe that's the key is like installers, you need to understand that you're part of the team, you're a trade partner. We say that term a lot. Daniel, you know, has really used that term on this podcast a lot. I've adopted it and stole it. And trade partner means you're a partner. It means you're helping to get to the end result, and you're not a child. You're not an employee, especially, you know, obviously I'm talking about subs. If you're a sub, you're a trade partner. Be a partner. Adopt the mindset of efficiency and productivity.
And
adopt
if you're
that
an employee,
mindset.
you're a team member. You're a member of the team. It's still the same concept. It's just you just have a different label. That's really it.
Yeah, it's just the only reason I don't always lump them together is often, our equipment manager is checking out all the equipment to them and they get it for free out of the, they have all their equipment and stuff supplied for them. So, what we have found is sometimes with subs, if they don't have one, they think they can, I'll figure it out. Well, figuring things out on a job site, like figuring out how to get carpet that's a hard rip up, yeah, you can cut it in 3-inch strips and rip it up by hand and take twice as long. Or if you don't have the equipment and you have a work order and you've had that work order for more than a day, you ought to stop by Home Depot and pick up a little Eddie at least, or come in and rent one from us or go buy one.
Right.
Like there's multiple ways to plan, and I think the key is like adopting that mindset of go into it thinking, how can I be as productive and efficient on this job as possible? I think just thinking that way by itself could help a lot of subcontractors out really well. I mean, the reason I was able to build a company off of being a sub and change from being a sub and then start selling materials is because I did make a lot of money subbing. I made a lot of money subbing, and I was very responsible with the money and put all the money back. And we've had previous podcasts on financial responsibility as an installer, but if you want to have a prosperous life, you first off, make sure you're getting paid what you should get paid for, what you should. But then after that, like efficiency, making sure you have that you're profitable, and then being responsible with that profit. Don't go buy a Mercedes Benz, go buy a new ride-on demo machine, but
you're forever going to be rolling money right back into it, right? Because you're going to find new ways. And then like if you're me, you think that if you just bought something 10 years ago, you just bought it. But if you're Daniel, you understand that wear and tear is like, hey, like we're going to have to re-up on.
Right. Like I can't believe we got to change these vacuum filters that we bought the vacuums in 2017.
Yeah.
I'm really bad with that, but because it's still fresh on the mind. Like,
we just bought
I just bought it. Like it's still brand new. I grew up using hand-me-down tools that lasted forever. And now we got equipment that doesn't last a year without it breaking down or needing some kind of major maintenance. So it's just like when that happens, it's like, what? Really? Already? Like what?
Well, that brings up another good point. Make sure your equipment's in good working order.
Yeah.
Because even we have had a problem with that. Like we'll tag it and we have the system and then it gets tagged, but then gets put back in the equipment room and then checked out to someone. They don't notice the red tag and it doesn't work, and you're out on the job site. The sub rented a sander from us, but grabbed the one that's got the
cord all ripped, the guts.
Well, the pins sheared off, the safety pin thing, the
shear pin.
The shear pin
is sheared off. We got to put a new one in. They're on a job. I mean, like all that costs time and money that nobody needs to be spending. So check your equipment, make sure it's in good working order, and keeping it in good working order is best way to be able to just go grab a piece and rock.
Just so you know, for future reference, that little connector, the shear pin he's talking about, they do make them in strictly alloy, not covered in plastic or hardened plastic.
They only make those for their extreme machine.
The alloy ones, well, I'm pretty sure somebody with a CNC machine, get a strong one. Just be careful with your wrists.
Yeah, be careful what you hit.
Yeah,
it's fine with your sander, not so great with the scrape away head and a good screw or a good nail in the concrete. All right. Well, I think we've, again, it's I think a reiteration of some big common practices, which is communication and planning. But hopefully you guys picked up some gems here. If nothing else, just start thinking about it. Think about efficiency, productivity. How can I be as efficient, productive today as possible? Wake up in the morning, think that way. Get to review your work orders. If your company gives you, paperwork orders, that's fine. Just review them ahead of time, see if you can get them in time to where you can properly plan. And, you know, if the company won't give them to you, then, you know, you got, that's a little outside. Maybe you can have a conversation, but knowing what you're getting into before the day you start is probably best practice. And then actually look at them, consider what, because the company giving you a work order is just a labor work order. Like I said, I've started to put plan it out in your head on how you're going to be the most productive in the day, and watch how it changes your business. I promise you, you'll make more money if you approach it this way, and you'll be more efficient and everybody will be happier. That's my opinion.
Yeah, actually pay attention to it, because we do the same thing. He's wrote on there, you know, we got one of the older National 5700, which is blue, and then the new ones are gray. He's like, take the machine, and then you walk out to the warehouse, they already left, and the blue machine is gone. Well, it's like
They're different. The battery has different capacity, you know, so
Yeah.
Rougher rip, you got to take the one that's going to last longer. It's got a little more weight to it.
and then I call and it's like, hey, why'd you guys take this machine? Oh, well, by the time we looked at the work order, we already had this one on the forklift, so that's just the one that we took anyways.
Again, look at your work order as early as you can so you can plan around
Yeah.
and ask questions. Like, that's the other thing. Sometimes a company isn't as thorough as they probably should be. I know we fail there sometimes. Ask questions. If you're on Go Carerra, throw it in the chat. If you work for me and you're listening to this, or work with me, I should say, throw it on the work order chat. Hey man, is this carpet going to be a bear? Hey, have you tested this? Or is the job site ready? Like,
Yeah.
just communicate back and forth.
And I think that there is definitely a little a larger window for commercial to have all those ducks in a row versus some of the residential where it's they shop, they want it done, they find something they love, and you're there, you know, within a week or sometimes a couple of days or sometimes the next day. You know, so you have a little more time to get the right information in place, especially for a large commercial job, a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
Haley.
Yep, there's a skill to it. So, all right. Well, gentlemen, thanks again. Appreciate everything, every single week you guys being here. Looks like we got some guests coming on next week, I believe. Going to be discussing unifying the flooring industry from, you know, a few different guests, few different parts of the industry, and continue the conversation from a big perspective of what we really care about here on the Huddle. These guys, as much as anybody, is improving our industry and seeing how we can continue to kind of mend some of the tears that have happened over the last, you know, couple of decades, and hopefully push forward to a brighter future for everybody involved.
Because you look at the industry as a whole, right? We're all on the same team, but everyone is so segregated into their own markets that it's hard to pull together. And I think we first realized that the first time we went to surfaces, and it's like, man, like this is an issue, but no one really talks about it, and everyone is fine with hating everyone else because, you know, if you're a flooring installer, you're automatically the best person in the world.
Yeah.
You're the best at what you do. Hey, I can learn a lot from everybody out there, man. I'd love to hear from everybody.
Yeah, well, I think we've all said every week, like, reach out if you have any problems. If you just want to talk about your business, there's been several guys have reached out to me on Facebook Messenger, and I've helped them out on, you know, a lot of times it's systems and processes that I help with, but, you know, we're all in this together. We're all here to try to, you know, improve the industry overall. Here's our mascot.
This is Bruce. This is the good old farting dog.
Oh, Gassy Bruce.
Hi, buddy.
All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you so much for joining me this week. and we will see you guys next week. In between, have a successful go at it, and we look forward to chatting with you next Tuesday.
Sounds
Yes, sir.
good.
Thank
We'll
you.
see ya.
All right, see you guys.
See everyone. Thank you.
Bye.